Today I will show you 3 houses at once, even 4 that are usually built by noob, pro, and hacker. But hackers are not the kind that went to ruin everything, and even a noob is no match, but one who knows a little more than the rest about all the mechanics in this wonderful game. Let's start with Noobas. What can he do? Unless there is a default 2x2, 2x1, it is easy to build. There is nothing to review here. 2 squares are a triangle and 4 squares are a triangle. I see, right? No, of course there is an exception where Nubic builds something more interesting, but I am now taking into account a more advanced type of people, which cannot be said about the next type of players. This type thinks several foundations ahead in advance. He has a clear vision of how he will survive, where he will survive, and what he will build. The idea is to turn a default kibitka into a full-fledged house for a minimum number of resources, where there will be 2 exit doors, and shooting at these very doors, external shooting at 360, and, where without it, a lot of boxes. You can even stuff a pixel gap here, and then in front of your friends. And if they decide to take you out the door on the first day of the vape, it will be very difficult to do this, and since the house is very cheap in terms of builds and is being built as quickly as possible, it will in no way prevent you from implementing absolutely any of your ideas. You can serve the house with homeless people who will run under your house. And if at some point their concentration near your house becomes too high, you can always explain to them that it is better not to be here. The topmost floor will serve as your shooting for all 360, as well as in addition to this place, where there will be a lot of boxes. I already foresee comments that chests can be confused from the street. I personally checked each chest, it will not work, so you cannot even worry about this moment. The house is very mobile and there are a lot of bullet holes. It is built of shit and sticks, and besides, you can put buffers on the sides from all sides. Well, all the most valuable things can be hidden in the BBB pixel. Personal, I would do that. To make it convenient to loot them, take something with which you can aim, a bow there, a nail gun, a kalash, well, you understand. I'll show you how it builds quickly without water. First you need to raise the height of the foundations by half a floor. We install a cabinet in the far triangle, make it in the opening under the hatch so that it is indefatigable. This will be your initial house. I suggest throwing a sleeping bag somewhere nearby, because in order to continue construction, you will need 100 metal and 500 wood for 2 large boxes, and we will need these very boxes for the pixel gap that we are building now. That is, they understood. Yes, after the kibitka, consider immediately you will have a protected loot. It is not necessary to wait for metal for combination locks, they can be installed later, I will show you. It is important to do all the movements exactly like mine. If you have any difficulties, always contact my Discord, they will help. The desired result is this gap. Well, I would recommend improving all the high foundations in this house into metal, because if they are demolished, then enemies will have access to your chests. You can do this again as you develop. Also, the house can then be subsequently enclosed in a circle with additional walls and increase your protection by a few dots. In general, the house is as cheap as possible. If a pixel gap is a difficult thing for you, then you cannot even put it. I shoved it here because I can, and I like it. There will be a very important moment here now. We do not put an opening for a double door here as usual, because this is the initial house and a garage door. I think you will definitely not have it yet, so we put a double door just a little higher, and we will be able to get to the second floor unhindered. We install 3 stoves on our low foundation so that they do not clutter up the useful space of the house with their presence. And when they melt the metal on the lock code, you can put it right from here. Recently, by the way, such a chip was made, quite convenient. Then I leave the boxes as quickly as possible. I think everything is clear here, right? In general, we can say that the first floor is finished, but we have not yet shot. And now we will do it. Fortunately there is nothing complicated there at all, the most difficult is already over. First, we have to put half walls everywhere, as if through one, then throw a sideboard everywhere between them, then we put frames everywhere, ceilings for stability, and we can say you've done everything. The main thing is to throw a triangular ceiling in the center, because then there will be a box there. Well, as if yes, it's better to put the Loki code everywhere on the chests here. Well, as if yes, you need to put a ramp before you force everything here with roofs, because if you do it in reverse order, then you will not succeed. Well, then all you have to do is put the roofs, triangular on the sides, square in the center. This is the kind of house that turned out to be quite light, I think. Oh, well, I can't say that for sure about the next house. Now we'll get to it, you'll understand. Here, in theory, you will have 6 large boxes. I am a fan of collecting all kinds of garbage, so if you are the same, then there is enough space for you. Look, now there is only one wall to our pixel gap, it can be closed with such a movement. Well, as you can see, additional walls are placed absolutely from any side. A good initial house, you will agree, but there is even better. A house of the third type. If you've watched up to this point, then you really like what I'm doing. Support me with a like and a subscription. I'm not distracting. It has everything that was in the previous one, but it also added 2 bunkers at once, everyone's favorite cube and something else very interesting. I won't say that this house is easy to build, but its use really makes my head spin. The number of all kinds of chips is really off the scale. I'll show you everything now. The entrance, as in any self-respecting kibitka, is through the airlock. Next, we are greeted by a very spacious, and most importantly comfortable house. There is a place for electricity, a bunch of boxes, a second workbench, additional sleeping bags. So far, it turns out to be nothing special, right? But okay, now you'll see everything. The shooting here is the same as in the last house, but much wider, as you can see, because it is much more convenient. There are beds, which is very important by the way, and if everything is really bad for you, and enemies are already waiting for you at the bottom, then you can always send them such greetings. A cool feature, why not, if there is an opportunity. Then we go down below and it's not for nothing that I said about the second workbench, because there is even a place for the third one. It is guarded by a turret, and here is the cabinet itself. Well, a little more maintenance than the previous one, yes. But there is an opportunity to roll up in the MVK cube. I think if there is an opportunity, it should be used. But that's not really all, because I said that there are the same chips here, but there are more of them. This is also a gap pixel, but on triangular foundations. Of course, it is more complicated to build, but I will show you everything, but it would seem where else is there more? But there is another secret here. If we put a triangular roof on this place, then a secret room will be revealed, in which, in addition to the boxes, you can also place a couple of gun traps with a turret. Ask why? I'll show you now. To begin with, we would like to build up this whole business. And the bottom line is that you can open this bunker, as you understand, from the farthest part of the house, which means that if you start raiding the doors, you can stupidly drag an anti-raid on the surprise factor by simply opening the bunker at the right moment. And in order for us to make today's house, we again need to raise the height of the foundations by half a floor. Where we have a square, of course, a closet, and we fill up the rest of the free space with what is necessary. Stoves, there are additional boxes, but you get it. As a result, everything should look something like this. Just keep in mind that there must be a wall here, so that you can put it up at any time, if necessary. And now it will be the most difficult thing in this house. We will also initially need to make a pixel gap, and it is already much more complicated. To be honest, if you master this house in the building, then you really fumble. From myself, I want to say that in order for you to succeed, you need to do exactly as I do. We will need 13 triangular foundations for the diversion. After that, we demolish everything and go back, but already square. Here, please, look carefully, every sequence is important. You can't even imagine how much time I have spent on this to make this the very sequence that is needed. If you still can't do it, even though you do everything by video, then ask for advice in the Discord. Or go to Boost, there is a subscription, thanks to which I will personally help you in the first place. No, I try to help everyone, but there is not enough time for everyone, you know. The ceilings should have stability at both 37% and the gap should be just like the former. It is very important to put a high foundation here. Locks on the locks can be thrown later, at first every single piece of metal is important. Well, when you realize that you have a gap and everything is messed up, we build up the main part of the house. But even at this moment, do not rush too much, there are a couple more important points here. Airlock is understandable, I think you can handle it here without me. But as you know, there should be another bunker here, and that's what we're going to take on now. Look, we need a buffer behind our closet, so that there are 2 walls to it. But here it is important to put a low foundation, close it with half walls and cover it with a ceiling. A little later you will understand why it is necessary. Well, in the place where we do not have a wall, we need to do the same, again a low foundation. If you don't have it installed like I do, then just lay the foundation from our pixel gap. But in general it should be put like this. And after you have added such low foundations on both sides and built them up, we install an opening for a square hatch as if into the foundation itself. At first, of course, you can leave it stone, but then at least you need to put it in iron. Now we go to the Tula of the one where we have the cabinet itself, and there we install this opening for the square hatch in the same way. In general, everything should work out. In fact, the difficult moments in this house end. All that remains for you to do after that is to put a triangular ceiling right in the center of our house. And it is on this ceiling that we install the bunker ceiling. We improve what we want, but I wouldn't improve it all at first. And, most importantly, we check how the whole thing works. If you did exactly everything as in the video, then you should succeed. I recommend putting a frame down so that it is convenient for you to move around the house if the bunker is open. But now that's it, we're slowly building up this floor. We have already passed all the difficult moments in this house. The only thing on the second floor there will be a little joke. There's a wall in one place that doesn't fit very well. Well, as it is, we all live, we build up, we save up a cut and for shooting. By the way, that loot, where we have a pixel gap, would advise putting 4 boxes there. That is, even despite the fact that 1 box will prevent us from looting the lower boxes, this is done, by and large, for the diversion of the eyes. No, I know that you are smart and check every 2 triangles in the house that you raid, but at least some, even an imaginary percentage to save loot. I think this is a good prospect. There will be 2 walls to our closet everywhere, but if you go from above, then 1. Therefore, I would recommend putting half walls everywhere here. Yes, the shooting will not be so free, but the central cabinet will increase its protection. I think it's a good exchange. Further along the edging of the whole house, we install low sides. But remember, I told you there may be a problem in one place, you need to sit down here. Next, we delimit the place where we go up to shoot with a half wall, and we install frames under the hatch everywhere along the edging. In the middle, too, do not forget the half wall with the frame, otherwise if you do not put it, there will not be enough stability for shooting. Well, as if everything, you have built the stuffing of the shooting. Bonfires there, I think you'll stick the boxes in yourself, right? As for the roofs, where triangular foundations are installed, we install triangular roofs, and where square. In principle, it is put on easy, if the ladder is not counted. The last roof is put on the outside from the bottom, no matter how much I tried, I couldn't put it any other way. Well, in the middle we just sculpt a triangular ceiling. Regarding further protection, additional walls can be added to the edging of the entire house. Where you don't put a high foundation, just set a low one. But I have a bigger house for you, and easier by the way, designed for a team of 3 or 4 types.